Number 12. Let's look at number 12 here. Joe Burton says, "Hi, Mike. Do you think that churches should bring back gospel crusades? As I was saved at one in the 70s, these days no one wants to preach the gospel, but rather to do community works." Well, there's nothing wrong with doing community works, unless you think that that is the gospel. Oh, well, I preached the gospel. I helped pick up trash, so therefore I have preached the gospel today. No, you didn't preach the gospel. You did good work. I mean, it was good. But one doesn't replace the other. Gospel crusades, I don't think we have a mandate as a Christian that we're supposed to do or not do a gospel crusade. I would look at it in a pragmatic value. Can I get people there? Can I get them to show up at the event? Does the event have a significant and lasting impact in the lives of the people who come? These are the two questions I would ask. And yeah, I mean, most of the early church preaching was just apostles, evangelists, and when it came to public scenarios, they would just go out into any place that was considered a public forum, and they would just preach. So Paul goes into the marketplace in the book of Acts. But marketplaces in Greco-Roman times, it was common at the time. This is such an interesting historical insight for people to go and debate and do speeches and stuff like that in the marketplaces. So they would go to what's called the Cardia, the heart of the city, this marketplace, and then they would just start proclaiming things. So Paul would go out into the marketplaces and he would proclaim Christ. He also would go to the synagogues. The synagogue was another gathering, a local gathering. And as a rabbi, he could go there and he could say, "Hey, I want to talk about the Messiah." And so he was always welcomed in synagogues to speak until they kicked him out. So he looked around and he found whatever gatherings were already happening, and he went there and he preached the gospel. In addition, he went to the Areopagus, which was like in Acts 18, I think, or is it 19, where there's like this open forum where debate and philosophy discussions would happen, and there he preached Christ. So what I see in the New Testament as my example is them finding forums and places where people already are and preaching there. Now, on top of this, we have this special thing where Jesus would go and he would heal people, and it would draw a crowd, and then he would preach to the crowd. And the disciples did this on occasion as well. So I don't have some healing gift that's going on in my ministry, but what I have done, and what I would recommend you consider doing, and people consider doing, is using the online world to reach a crowd. Right now, we have 1,400 people currently watching this video. I get to point you guys to the gospel of Christ. Non-believers are watching my content all the time. The online world is the open forum of our current world in a lot of ways. Not the only open forum, but it's probably the one with the greatest potential. So I think that where we do crusades, as they become more difficult to put on because you're just having a harder time doing the event and getting people to show up, what you can do is you can look for other things to do. This is one reason why I started doing online ministry so much, is I just thought the potential for reaching people is so huge. It's so huge. And after 7 or 8 years of weekly content, it's working. It just takes, the investment of your life. That's all. And so, yeah, I'd recommend looking at those things. So should churches bring back gospel crusades? Only if they can do it successfully. If not, they should consider doing other things. I do think, though, to add one thing to this, there's one major issue with evangelism in the church in general, and that is that we leave it to the leaders to do all the evangelism sometimes. And so we stopped telling our coworkers a long time ago. We stopped telling our family members a long time ago. We stopped, not like we have to just like a robot say the same thing every time we see somebody, but we just stopped even trying. That's a problem. I think that what we need look at the culture I'm familiar with, I think what we need is Christians who are driven to tell other people about the gospel of Christ, even if it's going to be uncomfortable or might cause troubles or might cause problems, and they're doing it in a way that's meant to be compassionate, fearless, and biblical. So that's a big issue that's going on there. But as far as like big events and stuff like that, yeah, that's my thoughts.